Welcome back to your number one stop for coin history, hidden treasures, and collector secrets. Today, we're diving deep into the story of a humble yet historically significant coin, the 1973 Canada 1-cent coin. You may have seen one lying around or hidden away in an old coin jar, but did you know it could be worth more than just a penny? Stick around to find out. Let's begin with the basics. The 1973 Canada 1-cent coin was minted to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Prince Edward Island joining the Canadian Confederation. But here's the twist. The 1-cent coin didn't get a special commemorative design like some of the other denominations that year. Instead, it kept the classic maple leaf design that had been used since 1937. So, what does the 1973 penny look like? On the front, or obverse side, it features the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II designed by Arnold McKim, a familiar sight on Canadian coins from that era. The reverse, designed by G.E. Kruger Gray, shows two iconic maple leaves on a twig, symbolizing Canada's natural beauty and strength. Now, let's talk mintage. In 1973, the Royal Canadian Mint produced over 457 million 1-cent coins. That's a huge number, which means this coin isn't rare. At least not at first glance. But keep watching. There's more to the story. If you're holding a circulated 1973 1-cent coin, its typical value today is around 1 to 5 Canadian cents in average condition. It's still mostly face value. But if your coin is in uncirculated condition, meaning it was never used and has no scratches or wear, it could be worth around $0.25 to $2 CAD to a collector, especially if it's in MS-63 condition or higher. As always in coin collecting, condition is everything. Coins are graded on the Sheldon scale, from poor, P1, all the way to mint state, MS-70. A high-grade 1973 cent can sell for even more at auctions or online if it has original red luster, no marks, and sharp details. Here's where it gets exciting: error coins. Some collectors have reported 1973 pennies with doubling on the date or letters. These are called double die coins. If you spot something unusual on your coin, like an off-center strike or die crack, it might be worth getting appraised by a professional. Some error coins have sold for $20 or more, depending on the rarity and condition. And don't forget, there are also some rare bust varieties of Canadian pennies in nearby years. While 1973 is not known for a major bust variety, it's always worth examining Queen Elizabeth's portrait and the details surrounding it, especially if you're collecting across different years. If you're planning to keep your 1973 pennies, make sure to store them properly. Use 2x2 coin flips, acid-free paper, or airtight capsules to preserve their condition. Even a coin worth a penny today could grow in value tomorrow, especially as physical pennies disappear from circulation in Canada. So, to summarize, the 1973 Canada 1-cent coin is a common yet fascinating piece of Canadian history. While most circulated examples are worth only a few cents, uncirculated and error coins can bring in more, even up to $20 or more in rare cases. In 1973, Canada was celebrating a significant milestone, the 100th anniversary of Prince Edward Island joining the Canadian Confederation. As part of this national centennial celebration, the Royal Canadian Mint issued several commemorative coin designs for higher denominations like the 25-cent, 50-cent, and $1 coins. However, the 1-cent coin, despite being the most circulated denomination, did not receive a special design. Instead, the 1973 Canada 1-cent coin kept its traditional reverse design, the two maple leaves on a twig, created by artist G.E. Kruger Gray in 1937. This design had already become a Canadian icon, symbolizing nature, unity, and national pride. The obverse, front, side of the coin features the effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold McKim. This particular portrait was used on Canadian coins from 1965 to 1989. It shows a youthful queen wearing a tiara, an image that became familiar across the Commonwealth. The year 1973 itself was a time of both celebration and change in Canada. The country was modernizing and expanding its infrastructure. The metric system was being introduced in schools and industry. Political attention was focused on Canadian identity and cultural heritage, which is why commemorative coins played an important role that year. In terms of mintage, the Royal Canadian Mint produced over 457 million 1-cent coins in 1973, making them very common in circulation. These coins were made from 98% copper, with some zinc and tin, and had a weight of 3.24 grams. Although it wasn't commemorative in design, the 1973 1-cent coin still represents a moment in Canadian history, a year of pride, unity, and national growth. It reminds us how even the smallest coins can carry big historical significance. The Canada 1-cent coin from 1978. If you've got one of these in your collection or just found one in your drawer, keep watching to learn about its circulated value, history, and whether it could be worth more than just a penny. The 1978 Canadian 1-cent coin features two iconic designs. On the obverse, you'll see the elegant portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, created by artist Arnold Machin. It's the classic regal image used on Canadian coins from 1965 until 1989. Flip the coin over, and you'll see the reverse, the famous maple leaf twig designed by G.E. Kruger Gray. It's a symbol of Canada's heritage, used on pennies since 1937. The coin is made of 98% copper, 0.5% tin, and 1.5% zinc, and it weighs 3.24 grams with a diameter of 19.05 mm. Now let's talk numbers. In 1978, the Royal Canadian Mint produced a staggering 854, 668, 079 1-cent coins. That's a lot of pennies. These coins were intended for heavy circulation, so most of them saw decades of everyday use, buying candies, newspapers, and even paying bus fares back in the day. Alright, so what is a 1978 Canada 1-cent coin worth today if it's been circulated? For most circulated examples, the value is still close to face value, about 1 cent to 2 cents CAD. But in better condition, like those graded very fine, VF, to extremely fine, EF, collectors may pay 3 to 5 cents. And if your coin is in about uncirculated, AU, condition or just has minimal wear, you might get up to 10 cents from a collector. Oh, while it's not exactly a gold mine, it can still be a fun collectible, especially if you're building a full penny set. But wait, if you're lucky enough to have a mint state, MS, 1978 cent, that's where values jump a little higher. A coin graded MS 63 by a service like ICCS or NGC might sell for $1 to $2 CAD. A near-perfect coin graded MS 65 or higher could fetch $5 or more, depending on buyer demand. Also, keep an eye out for coins with die cracks, double strikes, or other mint errors. These types of coins can be worth $10 to even $100 plus to the right collector, especially if they're dramatic or well documented. Did you know that Canada stopped producing pennies in 2012? That makes coins like this more nostalgic and collectible each year. While the 1978 penny isn't rare, it's part of a long legacy of copper coinage that ended in the 21st century. If you're collecting Canadian cents, try assembling a full year set from 1920 to 2012. It's a fun project and teaches you a lot about Canadian history and design. So, there you have it. The 1978 Canada 1-cent coin might not buy you much at the store, but it's a valuable piece of Canadian history that collectors still appreciate today. The Canadian 1-cent coin, often called the penny, has been a part of Canada's coinage since 1858, when the province of Canada issued its first decimal coinage. It remained in use until 2012, when it was officially withdrawn from circulation due to the rising cost of production and low purchasing power. Why 1978, Canada was still using copper-based 1-cent coins. That year's coin was struck during a time when the Canadian economy was experiencing inflation, energy concerns, and social change, but the humble penny remained a staple of everyday transactions. A portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machin. This portrait was introduced in 1965 and remained in use on Canadian coins until 1989. It shows the Queen facing right, wearing a tiara. The maple leaf twig, a design used since 1937 by artist G.E. Kruger Gray. The maple leaf is one of Canada's most recognizable national symbols, representing strength and unity. In 1978, the Canadian penny was still made with a high copper content composition * 98% copper, 0.5% tin, and 1.5% zinc weight * 3.24 grams diameter * 19.05 millimeters. This copper alloy gave the coin its rich reddish tone, which made it visually distinct from later versions made with cheaper metals like zinc or steel. The Royal Canadian Mint produced a massive number of these coins to meet demand. 854,668,079 coins * were minted in 1978 alone. This large mintage means most 1978 pennies are common and were intended for everyday circulation, which explains why so many of them are found in average or worn condition today. Though the 1978 penny was just another part of Canadian change for decades, its value became questionable over time. In 2012, the Canadian government decided to phase out the penny to save money. Each 1-cent coin was costing more than 1 cent to make. Today, the penny is no longer minted, but coins like the 1978 version remain popular among coin collectors, especially those who want to complete a year set or preserve pieces of Canadian currency history. The 1978 penny might not be rare, but its asterisk represents an era of traditional copper coinage, is a commonly collected coin for beginners serves as a symbol of pre-digital, everyday commerce and can be worth a bit more in uncirculated or error condition. The 1996 Canadian 1-cent coin. If you've ever come across one in your change or coin collection, you might be wondering, what's this coin really worth? Well, stick around, because we're unpacking everything you need to know about the 1996 Canadian penny's circulated value, rarity, and what collectors look for. Alright, so first things first, the 1996 Canadian 1-cent coin is part of the iconic penny series that Canada minted from 1858 until its discontinuation in 2012. The design you see here is the classic maple leaf reverse, crafted by artist G.E. Kruger-Gray, featuring 2 maple leaves on a twig. On the obverse, you'll find the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, updated with the 1990s effigy by Dora de Pedery Hunt. This coin was struck in pure copper until 1996, after which Canada began reducing the copper content. So the 1996 penny still has that beautiful copper shine, but what does that mean for its value? Let's talk numbers. The 1996 penny had a huge mintage. Over 840 million coins were produced. That's a lot. This means the coin is very common in circulation, and you'll find them in wallets, cash registers, or coin rolls pretty easily. Because of this high production, the 1996 penny isn't considered rare, so most circulated examples hold face value, which is just 1 cent okay. So if you find a 1996 penny on the street or in your change, what can it be worth? For most circulated coins, meaning those that have been used daily and show signs of wear, the value is pretty straightforward, 1 cent. Yup, just face value. But here's where coin collecting gets interesting. If you come across a 1996 penny in uncirculated or proof condition, or maybe an error coin, its value can increase significantly. When it comes to circulated coins, the key factors that impact value include: is the coin heavily worn, scratched, or corroded? Or does it still have some luster? Sometimes pennies are struck with minting errors, like double dies, off-centers, or die cracks. These errors can boost value while demand for 1996 pennies isn't high. Some collectors seek specific years for complete sets. For example, a 1996 penny with a rare mint error could fetch anywhere from a few dollars to over $20, depending on the error type and condition. Another interesting point is the copper content. Before 1997, pennies were made of nearly 100% copper. In 1996, each penny contained about 3.3 grams of copper, so theoretically, the metal content could give the coin a small intrinsic value. However, it's actually illegal to melt down Canadian pennies for copper, so don't get any ideas there. If you want to sell your 1996 penny, the best place to start is online marketplaces like eBay, or coin shows and local coin shops. But remember, for most circulated coins, the price will hover around face value or just a bit higher. So, to sum it up, the 1996 Canadian 1-cent coin is a common coin with a massive mintage, which means circulated coins are generally worth just their face value of 1 cent. However, if you happen to find one in mint condition, even though pennies are no longer in circulation here in Canada, they still hold a nostalgic and historic charm, making them a fun coin to collect. Oh, you have any 1996 pennies or other Canadian coins in your collection? Let me know in the comments. Also, if you want me to cover other Canadian coins or rare mint errors, hit that like button and subscribe for more coin collecting content. Thanks for watching, and happy collecting!